everyone, welcome back to Absolutely. My name is Benny, that is Sal, and that is Huston. We get together on a regular basis to discuss all of the rumors, trailers, movies, and everything going on in the world of superhero comic books, movies, and TV shows. Today we're going to be discussing, has Phase 4 done irreparable damage to the MCU? And I want to pat myself on the back for being able to pronounce irreparable on the first try.
You did pronounce it incorrectly.
What?
It's irreparable.
Irreparable.
Anyway, guys, if you want to support this channel, please consider joining up for our YouTube memberships, where I tell you all about the naked statues behind me. Or you can go check out our sponsor, G Fuel. Use the code COMICS at checkout. Or you can go check out Into the AM. Click any of those links down below. Support us if you want to keep this channel going. All right, Sal, I'll tell you about those new statues another time. You looked very baffled. We've had discussions about them while you were gone.
Good.
Good. All right, so I was watching a video the other day, and they were basically saying how the MCU is dead, blah, 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 and I turned off the video. So,
Naturally.
But that did get me thinking, what has happened to the MCU? Ever since Phase 4, the hype is gone, the talks are gone. Is this because these shows and movies are so standalone? Is it because we're missing a through line? Is it because they're trying new stuff and it's just not hitting the same? Is it because we're missing an Iron Man? Let's start with you, Sal. What do you think Phase 4 has done to the MCU as a whole?
I mean, it certainly despecialized it. Like, it has made the event status of the MCU less eventful, and it has, in its own way, and I'll give it a compliment, like, kind of personalized it. Like, it's made it more individualized. Like, anyone can curate their whole MCU experience. You know, some people want to see it as a rom-com sitcom. Boom, I got that covered. I want to see something that tethers itself to the pre-Endgame era. Yeah, I got Falcon Winter Soldier for that. You know, I want to go cosmic with it. You know, I got the Guardians, and I have all kinds of other, like, time people, like with Loki. Like, I can curate my entire MCU experience, and as a result, that makes the MCU less water cooler, and so it less brings everyone together, and so we're all just like, did you see the $300 million blockbuster movie? Like, of course I did. Well, let's all talk about it. You know, that era still exists, but in tandem with this other thing.
Right.
This other thing that is by nature polarizing. And so, you know, because that's what TV has done. Like, TV and streaming has individualized, like, all of media to the point where it's like, well, there's a million shows for a billion people, and not everyone's going to watch it, and arguably not enough people can possibly watch all of it to allow any of it to sustain itself. But that being said, at least with Marvel, you know, it is not immune to that experience, and so everyone's just kind of like, well, yeah, I really like Moon Knight. And it's like, oh man, I didn't even watch it.
Yeah.
You know, like, we got that world. I saw a TikTok the other day, and I'm sure Hassan saw it as well, because, you know,
he lives on TikTok. It's his
but it was it was this incredible, like, joke where it was just like pre-Endgame MCU fans, and he's like, okay, you haven't seen any of the MCU? No, I've never seen any of the Marvel movies. Oh my God, you got to, okay, it's only 26 movies, not a big deal. You got to watch them all before Endgame, okay? All right, and then it's like 2021 or it's being an MCU fan 2022, and it's like, have you seen any of the Marvel shows? No, good for you. And I felt that in my bones, where I was like, yeah, I think that if I'd never seen a single Marvel show, I'd still be a big MCU fan.
Right.
Like, I like them, I recognize their value, but I'm also like, none of them have been in any way impactful to me.
Yeah. I think that's part of the problem, but before we go into, like, discussing it as a whole, what is your overall opinion on it, Hassan?
Yeah, so, I mean, Sal really brought up a good point of, like, the way it was like a zeitgeist conversation every time a movie would come out. I would say post-Winter Soldier, every time the MCU did anything, everybody would get on board. And then especially nearing towards Endgame, I remember just regular people who were not into comics, just into pop culture, if anything, really, really got aggressively all in on the MCU. It was very unique to see people that crapped on me watching comic movies growing up, like getting giant parties of people together, binging them every single night. They're going to watch another one. It was culturally resonant and important. And that through line persisted, right? It into WandaVision, into Loki. It was still the same deal where it was like every episode, Twitter would blow up every time people would want to talk about it. And it wasn't MCU stan Twitter. It was just Twitter. It was just the regular Twitter with everybody else. And there was this like very clear like dilution of that I want to say a little bit after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. After that, I think like everything just went down. Not in quality, because you could speak towards what you liked and what you didn't like about those projects beforehand. For me, WandaVision was amazing, and then the end wasn't like, it seemed like it happened really quickly, and I heard later that they didn't have time or money to film what was left because people had to be offset because of COVID. Loki was great all the way through, loved it, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier felt like a 6-hour MCU movie that also had a very rushed, weird ending, but was really good.
Yeah.
But people had really polarizing opinions. It's weird to me that we live in a world where the MCU is so hated, because I'll say, like, I don't think it warrants the pure visceral hatred that it gets now, because it's memed upon as if it's like we're releasing Spider-Man 3 every week, which, hey, love that movie, it's a classic, but it's not necessarily the best property.
I was like, does he mean classic Spider-Man 3 or current Spider-Man 3?
He means remake Spider-Man 3.
Current Spider-Man 3. I would say Spider-Man No Way Home gave us the last little pinch of like, oh wait, the MCU can still do giant, massive team-up crossover movies that'll get the whole world excited and everyone's going to talk about it endlessly.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, though, we set the bar back up here. After the bar has been like, okay, we're rising again. Like, we're not going to be up there in a while. Then we give it an endgame level movie, and that's my opinion, guys. I know in the comments people are like, how's it saying MCU? It's not for everybody, but for me, it was an endgame level movie, if not better for me, because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. They gave us this huge top shelf movie. The people who don't even like comic books are going to see. People who are nostalgic for 2000 movie. People who just love Tom Holland and Zendaya's relationship. Everybody was going to watch it. And then immediately after was Multiverse of Madness, which was an exciting thing for a lot of people. Like, this is going to be the next really big Marvel movie. We just have to hold out to Multiverse of Madness. And it was not a movie that people thought it was going to be. It was marketed as a multiversal, traversal, slapstick horror movie. And it was two multiverses and Wanda fights everyone. And it's cool for what it was, but it didn't live up to anything that came before it. And then I think that really hurt fans irreparably.
Yeah. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I think part of the problem we're having here is a lack of any true hype. Because back in the day, even if you weren't interested in one of the Marvel movies, the hype would be the cameo or the appearance of Thanos, or is that an Infinity Gem? There was a discussion to be had, a water cooler discussion about each and every single movie, even if you didn't see them. Thor: The Dark World is across the board considered like one of the worst MCU movies. All objective, but when you look at most people's lists, it's down there.
It always is, yeah.
But it still gets mentioned because it had stuff that came back later and looped it into the greater narrative of the MCU. But no one mentions things like Moon Knight. No one mentions What If even right now. Like, how many times
is always that show that we forget?
It's always the show we forget. We talk about Loki. We talk about WandaVision. Captain America: Winter Soldier gets brought up occasionally. But like, is it a question of they've just started pumping out too many things and we're just starting to slip on some of them? Or is it a question of they're so uninteresting we're not actually talking about it? Because I have an interesting graph for you guys. So if you don't know what this is, Google Trends is a thing that tells you across the entirety of the internet how much stuff is being talked about. Okay?
Right.
So I love what you just said, Hassan, because you were saying how it's not talked about anymore. Because this graph would say otherwise. This is the MCU since its inception. Okay? This is Endgame.
Right.
Endgame blew it up. But look where it's at now with the supposed worst entries into the MCU ever.
Still pretty high.
Mm-hmm. You can
still
even
higher than it had been.
Yeah. We could even go the last 12 months.
Well, I think that speaks to...
There's 5 years. 5 years is better because 5 years shows you that it's
like you can see.
Higher its lowest points are now higher than it was before Endgame.
Right. I think that speaks to the cottage industries that were spawned from the MCU. Like, people, I imagine there are more people who have seen TikToks about the MCU than watched Moon Knight. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like content about the MCU is synonymous with the MCU. And so it's like, even if the MCU is not doing well, or even if the narrative of the MCU not doing well is just a narrative, the person who's purporting that narrative could make a tidy fortune just saying that.
Well, that's one thing we were talking about before. There's channels to make their entire bones off making hate content to drive more hate towards things. There was a discussion.
I don't even think it's to drive hate. I don't necessarily even.
No, it's not
believe
to drive hate.
like,
it's to drive money. Hate makes easy money is what it comes down to.
It makes easy quick money, but I don't think it's sustainable because like you burn out yourself and your audience with your hate. Like you can't be angry like that all the time and believe it. That's why it's like news anchors who have done that for 20 years are phonies because like they don't really care. They were just like, well, who's going to pay more? And so they went to one side or the other, and they were like, I'll pretend to be outraged about everything every day, but you could tell that like they don't really believe what they're saying. And the reason is because they haven't like gone insane.
So the reason I did want to bring this up, though, and the reason I want to have this topic is because after you saw how it was Endgame, and then it went higher.
Right.
We're actually hitting one of the all-time lows for the MCU in the last week of September. 18th to the 24th, it's at one of its lowest points. It has been recently.
In its lifetime or just in the past? Okay.
It's still higher than it was way back in the day, like Endgame levels.
Sure, okay.
Okay. But we are hitting an all-time low since Endgame. And, post-COVID, because COVID had a real dip.
COVID changed everything, yeah. Fart.
So, because if you look at this right here, this is the last 12 months, okay? The last 12 months shows you this drop-off right here, 18th to the 24th.
That's a sharp drop, damn.
That's a sharp drop. I found it. Yeah, exactly. I found this because our analytics are intrinsically tied to MCU and DC searches.
Yes.
Both of them are on a decline right now because if you go to DC Comics, they're also on a decline at the moment. Both of them are tied to it. They're both going down. What do you think is going on? Because I do not want to. I'm not going to sit here and try to even argue for a moment that She-Hulk is so bad it is killing the MCU.
It's killing superhero movies.
It's killing superhero movies in general. I'm not gonna. I'm not even gonna try to argue that because you could. The channels that are trying to drive hate to money will say She-Hulk's killing the MCU.
Oh, yeah.
But DC Comics is also down. If you look at superheroes in general, they're also down.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that with the amount of stuff that the MCU is cranking out and the daily news we're getting from DC that one day they'll make something, do you think that people are finally just hitting that wall of like, where's Harry Potter? I want magic again.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really think they are. I think that's exactly what's happening. I think we need a change of pace and then really well thought out superhero movies again. Stuff that is like resonant and has the crowd effect, like specifically engineering moments to have those reactions that are gonna blow up later,
Yeah.
Because they're doing it. They're engineering moments to have conversations later, but not reactions like No Way Home is in my brain the last time where they're like, this is going to be a moment. They tried it with, Multiverse of Madness, but they spoiled that in the trailers before the movie. Yeah. And like they showed who showed up to the red carpet premiere, Patrick Stewart was there, Haley Atwell's there. But that's the last time they tried it. So that's, they need to engineer bigger moments like that. But dude, I would love a new Harry Potter movie. Game of Thrones, I was watching House of the Dragon last night. It's been fun. That show is just upsetting. But it's that fantasy realm. I miss being in the fantasy realm. The thing I'm probably the most excited for right now is the Harry Potter game coming out soon.
Yeah, I want to try
because
that
we get to revisit that world in a way that is good. And then people will say, well, hey, the new Harry Potter stuff isn't performing. I venture to say the Fantastic Beasts stuff sucks, and that's why.
Bad, and it's
it's terrible.
And everybody gave that a shot. And they were like, no. And then they kept making them for some reason, and people just kept going like, these are just as terrible. Like, why are you doing this?
We will not watch these. No.
Natalie and I watched the first Fantastic Beasts. We're like, this is okay. And we got to the second one, and we're like,
okay.
What? And then the third one was coming out, and I literally went to her and said, oh, we got to watch the second one. I don't remember it. She goes, we watched it. It was that bad. I'm like, oh.
We watched it. I'm not watching it again.
We watched that movie.
I hear the third was the same level of bad as the first, not as bad as the second, which was the worst of the franchise. But
I literally pulled up the wiki for the second one, looked at the plot synopsis, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I did watch this.
No, and it's like, it's because we're living in prequel era for Harry Potter, so hopefully we'll get back to sequel territory at some point down the road, and we could do something cool with it.
Because I also have another argument just to kind of make this conversation be even more interesting against. Because yes, I kind of agree we're getting into an oversaturation point. DC's punting out 30 Batman books a month right now. Like it's a ridiculous amount of Batman books. The MCU's cranking out something on a literally weekly basis. We went from like She-Hulk to the next thing to the next thing, while Marvel's still putting out comics. But what if it's not oversaturation? What if the superhero content as a broad franchise kind of a thing is just become so normalized,
right?
No one's rushing to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, it's just accepted. It's like watching. It's like them announcing, like, "Oh my God, NBC is going to be launching a police procedural." You know, it's like you don't need to. There's no hype. It's just a certain amount of people are going to watch that, and it's just we made it because we know people will watch it. Like, oh my God, like
Law and Order is still going because its views never go down. But they
Cameron
never
Diaz
spike.
is coming out of retirement, and she's going to play a woman that's like working in business, and she's going to meet this guy that's going to break her icy heart, and they're going to fall in love with each other. Like no one's no one's rushing, but they'll go see it. You know, I think that. We have an opportunity here. There's a real opportunity here. And I know it's going to be ignored because money. Like because Disney Plus costs trillions of dollars and because the MCU needs to hit like a ridiculous quarter. It's why we have Harry Potter movies. Because like Harry Potter as a franchise established like a significant, you might even say career starting or ending amounts of money. Every quarter, every Christmas they counted on that Harry Potter money, but like they knew it was coming to an end, and they knew it would have a crescendo. The MCU, for a lot of audiences, I'm sure Endgame was that like Deathly Hallows crescendo, but what they didn't understand is that like no, it's actually just going to keep going forever, and
I think that
you're going to be left
kind
behind.
Of ruined it. Yeah, I think that kind of ruined it to an extent. Because remember when this started, and I'll let you keep going in a minute. I'm hoping to tag on to your point here. Mm-hmm. When this started, getting Iron Man was amazing. We all rushed to the theaters because we might never get to see this in theaters or anything on this level again. Getting Batman v Superman, we were like day one, Batman is gonna fight Superman.
Right?
This
Finally.
bubble has to burst. What is happening? When we had Civil War Captain America, holy cow, they're gonna have Spider-Man swing in?
Yeah.
None of that, it's all normalized now.
Yeah,
now it's at a point of like, hey, She-Hulk has Wong this week. Oh, that's fun. Maybe go see what Wong's doing with The Sopranos. Like,
right. Well, I mean, did you guys see the footage from those cruise ship movies where it's like Ultron fought Ant-Man in those? Like, Ms. Marvel's an Avenger in those. Like, we've seen like, and the only way you're going to see them is like from shaky cell cam footage. On TikTok from someone's cruise ship, which I'm never going to go on because cruises are gross, but like
it's the plague barge. It's all it is now.
I'm gonna.
We've just everyone always assued it was. Now we have confirmation.
Now we're sure they're just gonna dump human waste into the ocean and ugh. But anyway, that would if that was a thing 5 years ago. It would be like a movie being leaked. People being like, "Oh my God, it's Captain America in his suit! Like, look at him go! Like, Ultron's back!" And they didn't get James Spader. But like all that stuff. It's just. But now it's like, oh, there's a whole hidden Avengers movie that's going to telegraph like where the things are going now. That's on a cruise ship you can watch, and meh, and the only person it benefits is the person who filmed it on their phone. Like, there is no hype. But I think that there's an opportunity here for us to get back to something that made it precious. And it's the problem is, I think that Disney thinks that like the shows are the equivalent for this, but they're wrong because they look very bad and they're not very good. But there's room here now to make like smaller, individual, lower hype, but still profit-making superhero movies. Like, we can get back to making Iron Mans and stuff. Shang-Chi, I think, was the litmus test for that. Because Shang-Chi, great idea, fun character, individual, not $1 billion franchise, or at least I didn't expect it to be. But you make it for, like, $80 to $100 million, you're going to make your money.
I didn't realize how poorly it did.
Oh, yeah, but you're going to make your money back. Now, of course, they released it during the pandemic, so, like, oops.
Yeah.
But, like... But
$450 million is what it earned out of a $200
not bad.
million
Which I remember it breaking records during the pandemic. Like that for that week, it was the highest numbers since the pandemic. During
exactly,
the time
and that's
like
great.
People
that's
were
great.
expecting, at least the Disney executives, they were all expecting like Black Panther.
Yeah, and they're stupid for thinking that. And
were they? That's the dumbest.
That's so stupid.
It was literally going back to theaters. Then
it was literally touted as being it would be the Asian community's version of Black Panther and hit those numbers.
Maybe.
Well, they're incorrect, and it didn't. And like Shang-Chi shouldn't be that. Like Shang-Chi is about this guy and his like family. It's not about like giving a community. I don't know. I mean,
no. I think you have a point there too. It's not like we're going into the hidden forest in Asia and finding Wakanda for Asians.
I mean,
you know,
they did do that.
They did.
They did that. But
they have that, but it's not like a super high tech, masterful civilization. They're living in huts. Some of them, they're cool huts, and they have little tigers running around. But they're living in goddamn huts. Wakandans live in like sprawling towers and have hover cars. Okay?
There's a history. I don't know. I don't. I think if you compare, you can't just go, well, they're both minorities like that. I think that's not how it works, Disney. You can't just
that's
go
what
like,
Disney thought, though. That's like, literally based on the fact that they were like Shang-Chi's got like an all Asian cast for the most part.
Right.
We got all Asian.
Like, that's cool,
crew.
and I love it, and it worked. It worked. Like that movie's actually not bad, but where it strays, I think where it falls flat is when they turn into the Chronicles of effing Narnia at the end.
Yeah, they did at the end.
There's
I liked the movie, and then when they got in there, I still liked it. And but like then it just turned into all CG. The dragon fights, he's flinging in the air.
You could have the dragon fight with like Shang-Chi against the dragon.
Yeah,
but you shouldn't have like armies and like you're basically just having that multiverse of madness like a sorcerer fight for no reason. Like I'm saying, there's room here to make like $100 million, $80 million superhero movies like Iron Man, like Captain America, like the movies that people romanticize and love viscerally. Though there are still characters that are just as popular as Iron Man and Cap and Thor were when those movies came out.
Yeah.
And you could make your money, not as much money, but if you make enough of them, you'll be fine. And you can rebuild the hype by making good movies that people want to go see.
Yeah, and then you have those smaller characters and the excitement of like, oh my god, what would it be like if D tier character gets to be next to Spider-Man on screen? They're so alike in the comics. Like they'd be such good friends.
Yeah, right? Like characters that have not yet been adapted. I mean, like the greatest example of that, unfortunately, is going to be co-opted for Marvel TV, and that's Daredevil. Daredevil is one of those characters where it's like, oh man, can you imagine if you had elevated? And by the way, I think that show is like almost perfect. There's no need to elevate it into a movie, but can you imagine the hype of like we're taking Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, Elodie Young, like everybody, we're going to get the whole cast back and we're going to make this $95 million Daredevil movie. Like that would have been really exciting because it would have been, it would have been in the MCU, kind of like Homecoming, but maybe a little less like exploitative in terms of using the MCU to like, make it. That being said, that movie I think made $1 billion, so it's like, hey, listen, it works. But like opportunities there. But I think they think that this Disney Plus thing is the end all be all. Like they're like, if we're going to invest in a mid tier and non $200 million property, it's going to go on this show. Like it's going to be a show and it's going to go on this thing. Werewolf by Night is one of the few examples I think of like that working, where I'm like, sweet, do something creative and different and interesting that works on this.
I will say, as much as I'm excited for Werewolf by Night, this to me almost, at least the way they're promoting it, almost feels like finally the MCU's kind of jumping the shark.
I don't think so. I think it would jump the shark if they made like a trailer where they're like, finally, Jack Russell, Werewolf by Night, is getting a film. Like, there's no way that anyone can take that seriously. So the only way you could do that is by making like a Grindhouse Halloween special movie that also is like a backdoor pilot that goes like, here's Elsa Bloodstone, Man-Thing, all the horror stuff, sans Morbius. During a time when Sony was like, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome, Morbius. And it failed hard. Like, you can imagine Disney going like, uh-oh. So I get Disney Plus being used for that. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Like, again, it's a way awesome. It's a way to guarantee event-type, holiday-themed media gets into those homes. It used to be that you'd be like, special event on TV. Now it's like, we're making like Hocus Pocus 2. I wonder how that's going to do. I hope it does really well. I imagine it will, because it's like, there's a generation of people who've been waiting for more Hocus Pocus. And it's coming out on Disney Plus, and it's like, boom, there it is. And it'll be on your app right now. Like,
I've always been of the camp of like some of these MCU shows. I mean, some of them are like She-Hulk and they're very, very ugly, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier was gorgeous.
I think it looked good
all the way through. How could, at the very minimum, if not week to week, having it in a theater, episode to episode, just one day, right? And if it sells out, it sells out. Limited release. Yeah. If not doing that, then at least the premiere, the mid-season, the finale.
Yeah.
Do 3 for every show you do, right? And then watch the rest of it on Disney Plus. But and you could say, hey, bring in your Disney Plus subscription for like some kind of discount or not, whatever. Pay for a ticket. I know I would have gone to see those in theaters.
Yeah.
Right. So if they want to make their money back, they could still do it and make an event. Like, I still believe in going places. Like, I know a lot of people are very much of the camp, like, no, if I can watch it at home, why would I go see it anywhere else? I'm Benny the Comicstorian. I have a theater in my bed somewhere in my house, right? But I still think, like, we know you do, goddammit, okay?
Yeah.
But I think it'd be so much fun to go watch those and I know that they did it once. They did it with that stupid, terrible show that they didn't believe in and they didn't try. Inhumans. And it was a bad show. They constructed a poorly, mishandled property because Kevin Feige didn't want to do it. Ike Perlmutter was crying and screaming about it, so they made it happen. But
let me ask you this:
they should do it again.
Speaking to that point, would it be insulting if they recut the shows into movies and release them in theaters?
No. I've thought about this. I've seen some of the cuts of it running around the internet. Right. Some of them are really, really good. I think that it would have to be the directors and that team working on it to recut it. I think
like the editors of that show, maybe, like, because they're all movie people. Like, they're all just movie people pretending to be TV people.
Right. Or hey, if they don't want to be, if they don't want to do that or whatever, that they get to at least give a green light or a thumbs up. Hire someone from freaking TikTok. Like, there are people who have been doing it really well. There's like a whole team of individuals that cut. 2 people did Obi-Wan cuts.
Yes.
And now they've been working together on everything else. They've been working on like a Master Mandalorian cut with Boba Fett, with all the old movies. Like, they're really grinding it out.
Yeah.
And some of it's good. Some of it has pacing problems, right? But
and they don't even need to, like, I mean, I like the idea, but I think that, like, they have editors. It's like, my point is just take the thing that you clearly had as a movie and make it into a movie. Like, I think WandaVision and Loki are not movies. I think those were
shows.
Intentionally made to be shows.
Yeah,
but like Falcon Winter Soldier, Moon Knight to some extent, those are movies that you just didn't have, that you just didn't have enough content for.
You decided to pad them out. But I do want to bring this conversation back because this video is going pretty long. I want to kind of roll us back in here. So let's kind of bring us to our endpoints here.
Sure.
Why do you think that graph is going way down right now for both MCU and DC? Superheroes in general, not just
fatigue,
the MCU.
Man. It's just fatigue.
You
People
just think
are
we're hitting
fatigued.
a fatigue marker?
Well, I think it's oversaturation, not just from the media themselves, but from our, like, chosen media. Like, every time I'm swiping for more content, if I'm just being yelled at by some idiot who's just like, the MCU is completely ruined, and, like, let me tell you something about what I'm disappointed about this time. Like,
here are the 10 reasons why the MCU is bad now, Sal from Comic Pop.
Every day I'm told that it sucks and it's terrible, and that, it's like living in New York City in the Marvel universe. Like, every day if I see a headline from J. Jonah Jameson, Spider-Man sucks, regardless if it saved my mom from a burning building, I might just think Spider-Man sucks. If I'm told every day, every second of every day, especially if my content leans towards superheroes, that, like, the MCU is broken or not broken, or, like, we're defending ourselves against an enclave of crazy people who are so angry about the MCU that they can't keep it in their pants, like, I would just divorce myself from it all. I'd just be like, that's enough. Like,
I mean, that's exactly what I do. I mean, going back to a discussion we had previously, there was a recent, I tweeted out an image of a Nightwing cover, which apparently was just laden with controversy. But I've gotten to the point now where I don't even go on my business accounts because it's so just everyone wanting to tell me how bad everything is. And I'm not someone who sits there and wants to fight with anyone about that stuff because it's all subjective opinions. It's nothing. You can tell me all you want, you hate something, but it's still your opinion. I'm the guy who up and down has talked to Sal and said, I can find the value in going to watch a Transformers movie.
Right,
and I'm the guy that will always get shit for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but I don't listen to the arguments because no matter what you think about a Transformers movie, I still think it's a fun popcorn flick.
Right, you still enjoy it. Yeah. Can you imagine being a parent and, like, taking your kid to see something? I wouldn't imagine to be Multiverse of Madness, but, something fun that's, like, Marvel related, and then, like, tell your peer, you're like, oh, I took my kid to go see the new Marvel movie, and they're like, that's such a bunch of woke trash, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my God, I'm talking about taking my kid to a kid's movie, and I'm getting I'm getting heat from it at work or on the playground. Like, what a nightmare. How about I just never talk about this ever again? And maybe I just don't even bother watching them anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't want to be incorporated into that. But like I said, so What about you, Hassan? What is your final thoughts on why superheroes in general, MCU, DC, on a downward spiral at this point?
Sal's on the
trend-wise?
money with it. It's fatigue. It's the obsessive nature of internet culture right now to just like beat into it. And then a lot of people are more chronically online than they've ever been. This has definitely been the age of like, my friends are my Discord friends, not my people in my life, which is cool. And it's awesome that you have, Discord friends. I have a ton of Discord friends, but a lot of them aren't participating in the world and they're echo chambers. Everyone's in kind of an echo chamber community. I think it's that. And I also think, and I'll be honest, I think it's the quality of the MCU too. And that's tough for me to say as like a champion of like, hey, just love it, love it, love it. I haven't been loving it. I haven't had as much fun as I used to. And that's definitely like, I couldn't find time to do it, but I wanted to so badly go see the re-release of Spider-Man. Yeah. It's just been a block of 2 weeks where I never got the chance to go see it. But I just wanted to sit in that theater and live a moment again where it's like, this is something that I love and it's something that makes me so happy. Because, since then, I haven't really watched much from the MCU that has really brought me a crazy amount of joy.
Yeah.
Not that it's just a movie company's responsibility to give me joy, but it often does. So I think it's echo chamber, internet culture, and lack of resounding moments that, when they wrote down the very first, draft of Spider-Man No Way Home, they knew what was going to happen. They knew how big it was going to be. They knew how life-changing that moment was going to be for some people. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
And those are our thoughts on the situation. What do you guys think is going on with Marvel at the moment and DC? Because as I showed in the graphs, if Dill had actually put them up there like he probably should have, you can see they're both on a downward, not a spiral, but they're at the lowest they've been in
trending.
years. Yeah, the trending. So and just to clarify, the trending is the worldwide searches for something. So it being down means people aren't looking for it. That's what it is.
Yeah. So
I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, G Fuel. Use the code COMICS at checkout. Get yourself some awesome tasting energy fluids. Fluids is not a word I probably should ever use again. Get some soft, comfortable t-shirts at Into the AM. And if you want to directly support us, join our YouTube memberships. Where currently, at the time of this video going up, there's at least one video explaining the naked statues behind me, which are now blocked by our Pokemon box. But there's also a second one going up about the legs to that other one. Thank you. We'll see you next time right here